In a world where some boots get replaced after just 3 months, Mizuno has somehow managed to maintain pretty much the exact same model for 10 years, with the first major change being the Morelia Neo 2 Beta, which side by side with the regular version might not actually look that different, but trust me when I say, almost everything they could have changed, they did. They have? They did. One of those is right. Which is why in today's video, we're gonna take a closer look at this, the new blacked out colorway variation of the made in Japan Mizuno Morelia Neo 2 Beta, the second colorway option for the Beta, Mizuno definitely knowing what their customers want. With the highlight feature for me at least being the seemingly weightless sensation that you get when wearing the Beta. While it physically isn't that much lighter than the regular Neo 2 and physically isn't that much lighter than a lot of other speed boot options out there, there are a bunch of different factors that come together that really make this feel like the lightest boot on the market. I want to talk about that. I want to go over all the details. I want to compare it to the regular Neo 2 and also take a look at how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more about these, please stick around and watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, keep in mind they are limited edition. There'll be a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal $320 retail price. Weightless football boots are not cheap. Just like all the other made in Japan Mizuno boots, it does come in a matte black box with the Made in Japan logo. However, the logo is black instead of gold to match the Blackout theme. Same goes for the included string bag, made in Japan, black on black, nothing on the back, strings on the top so you can seal it up. This gets a string bag rating of PG-13. At a quick glance, the Neo 2 Beta looks a lot like the regular Neo 2, but basically everything has been changed from the regular version aside from the plastic tooling used on the sole plate, which means that the boot ultimately does end up feeling quite a bit different. I've said it multiple times, while I think the Neo 2 is an excellent boot, one of the best speed boots on the market, I've never found it to be particularly comfortable, mainly due to the synthetic material and the shape of the boot in terms of how it just fits my midfoot, particularly my low arch, and that I just find it to be a little bit uncomfortable. It kind of pinches me a little bit, and I just would rather wear other boots, to be honest. Where the Neo 2 Beta, in my opinion, is actually one of the most comfortable boots on the market, certainly one of the most comfortable boots that I've worn all year long. Now with the upper, what they've done is it still incorporates the kangaroo leather here in the forefoot toe box area. You can pretty clearly see where it starts and where it stops, although the leather itself has actually been thinned out in comparison to the regular Neo 2, which you can actually see with the two boots side by side. The leather on this boot is completely flat because it's as thin as possible, where you can still see the kind of plushness and extra thickness that you have with the regular Neo 2. Now, it's not to say that one is necessarily better than the other, but they were going for the lightest, thinnest possible feel while still maintaining kangaroo leather on the Neo 2 Beta, which makes sense. Also, for the sake of shaving as much weight as possible, you can see that these are single stitched versus double stitched like you'll find on the regular Neo 2. As far as the midfoot is concerned, it does not use the same synthetic leather material. Instead, it's more of a mesh-based textile material with an internal support cage, kind of like a web pattern. A little bit difficult to see in this black on black colorway, but it ends up being a lot softer and certainly a lot more flexible. Granted, it does give up some of the structure and responsiveness that you otherwise would have with the regular version. I think that ultimately the regular Neo 2 is the better performer, but I feel like the added comfort and just general softness of this particular boot really does give it that weightless sensation. Speaking of weight, what actually is the difference between the Neo 2 and the Neo 2 Beta? And if you guys saw my initial review of the Beta, I did the same comparison and the weight difference was very minor. However, that pair of Betas I had actually worn in Japan for like 4 or 5 hours, and there's a bunch of different factors typically that will make the boots weigh a little bit more after wearing them, dirt, sweat, whatever it may be. So this test, I think, will actually be a little bit more of an accurate comparison versus what I had done in the past. Either way, these are both brand new in a size 9.5 US. We'll start with the regular Made in Japan Morelia Neo 2, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.15 ounces, the equivalent of 203 grams. We'll change the scale back to ounces, and we'll throw on the Neo 2 Beta, again, brand new, size 9.5 US, and you can see that they weigh in at 6.5 ounces, the equivalent of 184 grams, which is a weight difference of about 0.6 ounces, which is not a huge amount of weight, but it is relatively significant considering that the Neo 2 is already a very lightweight pair of boots. Now, I'm not going to say that in hand the weight difference is that noticeable, but because of the changes that they've made to the upper, notably how soft the upper is on the Beta versus what you'd find on the Neo 2, it just ends up feeling pretty much weightless on your feet and definitely lighter than the regular version. And that for me is what's so unique about the Beta. I think typically when you get a pair of lightweight speed boots, you expect thin materials, but you also expect those thin materials to be relatively structured, and obviously the boot to have a very tight wrap around your foot, where you end up with this kind of squeezing sensation that's great for fit and overall responsiveness, but not necessarily the best in regards to overall comfort. It's not something that I personally like, and I know there's a lot of people that agree with me. The Beta still fits really nice. There's no extra space on the inside of the boot, and yes, this thinner, more flexible material definitely lacks the structure of the regular Neo 2, so it definitely loses out in terms of overall responsiveness, but it gains a lot in terms of overall comfort, which I think is why these boots end up feeling so light. They're super comfortable while also being very light, which gives you this sensation of pretty much not wearing any boots at all. And I think that's also a pretty good way to describe how these feel on the ball. It's not a traditional barefoot sensation in that it does utilize a kangaroo leather upper rather than a super thin synthetic, at least for the forefoot area. The midfoot is really thin and does give you that pingy barefoot feel, but the leather, because it's been shaved down to be as thin as possible, it still gives you that barefoot touch, but there's still that slight amount of padding and slight amount of softness that really you can only get from a natural kangaroo leather material. I just love the way that it feels. If I had to compare the touch of this boot to anything else out there, I would say it actually reminds me a little bit of the Copa 19 and 20 Plus models, which I know is kind of a weird comparison, but that's the closest thing that I can compare these to. Laces run down the middle, has a nice deep lacing system, and something that I really like that they added on the Beta is this additional lace hole that you don't have to use, but it's nice to have that extra option. Definitely allows for better heel lockdown just because you can lace them up a little bit higher. And they have actually changed the tongue on the Beta, which honestly I don't like quite as much as the regular Neo 2 tongue. It's just a very thin synthetic material, matches the rest of the thickness of the upper, but I just think it's a little bit on the flimsy side. Not a big deal though. Obviously the boots have a low cut construction with this little extended piece at the back where they pulled out all of the padding. Speaking of pulling out padding, you'll notice that the heel liner is a slightly different material but still feels very soft, and it just has less padding at the back as well, again to shave as much material and weight as possible. Overall though, heel lockdown and general comfort is still really, really good. The insole is fully removable and also different from the regular Neo 2. It has the addition of perforations to shave just that little bit of extra weight. Not sure how much that actually saves though. And then the liner is more of a traditional kind of soft mesh rather than the more textured kind of grip sock type element that you get on the Neo 2. I kind of like that, but it looks like Mizuno is straying away from that just because they had feedback from customers saying that it kind of bunches up your socks when putting the boots on, which is definitely a fair criticism to make. Either way, the insole is just made from a regular layer of foam, nothing too fancy. Which brings us to the base of the boot where you'll find the familiar tooling from the Neo 2. It's made out of the same plastic material, features the same external heel counter, even has the 2 rivets at the tip of the toe, and then of course has the same FG stud pattern featuring pretty much all conical studs aside from this oval bladed stud as a support one in the middle. More aggressive than you might expect, but this is definitely the one aspect of the Neo that I think definitely needs to be updated for the Neo 3 if that ever happens. What you will notice as a difference though is what looks to be carbon fiber running through the little cutouts through the heel as well as the midfoot. Unfortunately, it's not actual carbon fiber, it's just a material that looks like carbon, but it's a little bit lighter than what you'd find on the regular Neo 2, mostly just a cosmetic element. What is more of a significant change though is this insert of what again looks like silver carbon fiber, but is a special type of plastic that looks like carbon, very lightweight, adds a little bit of kind of a spring back effect to the sole plate itself. I can't say that it's super noticeable when actually wearing the boots, but it is a physical change made to this boot that you won't get on the regular Neo 2. all in all, it's a really good outsole, and there's a reason why Mizuno hasn't felt the need to change it that significantly over the course of 10 years. For a company that does everything so well, their laces are really chunky and quite honestly a little bit cheap in comparison to the rest of the boots, which is why I've swapped out the stock laces for some black reflective SR4U replacement laces, maintaining the blackout theme, but also adding the little reflective bits, and the laces themselves are a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter, and just less bulky in general. It's a great way of changing up the style of your boots in a very inexpensive way. So if you're looking to get some for yourself, the website to visit is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in some for yourself, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, like I said, the boots feel weightless, and that sensation is achieved through a combination of the boots physically being very lightweight, but also being extremely comfortable. A lot of thin synthetic boots have this stiffer, rigid, kind of squeezing your foot sensation, and while the midfoot of this boot is a synthetic material, it's not overly structured and it's extremely pliable. So even once you've tied the laces tight, while the boots wrap your foot very closely, which I think you can pretty clearly see, there is no extra space inside this boot at all. It doesn't feel like it's restrictive in any way at all. And then as far as the kangaroo leather in the forefoot is concerned, it's super soft, it's super flexible, it's made in Japan Mizuno quality as you would expect, but unique in regards to how thin it actually is. So again, not the most responsive speed boot out there, not to say that it's an issue with this particular product, but I really, really like the comfort. And again, because of how light they are and how comfortable they are, they have this weightless sensation. It really is a pair of boots that you put on your feet and pretty much forget that you're wearing entirely. As far as width is concerned, I think that these are going to be suitable for most foot types because of this more pliable synthetic material through the midfoot versus the regular Neo 2. These are going to be a lot better suited for wider foot types just because it is more forgiving. In general, I still don't think this is a great option if you have really wide feet, but I do think they will fit most people as long as you're looking for a tighter overall fit. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. If you asked me to pick a pair of speed boots to wear for the entire season right now, this would be my choice. Even though I don't think the Neo 2 Beta is the best performer, I think that the regular Neo 2 ultimately performs better. And if you're just looking for ultimate responsiveness and overall aggressiveness, I'd probably go for something like a Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite. But if you value having a super soft, super comfortable, but also thin and lightweight pair of speed boots, I don't think that there's anything as comfortable, as thin, and as light all in one as the Neo 2 Beta. It really is impressive in that regard. And from a quality standpoint, it's a made in Japan Mizuno product. You know exactly what you're getting. The price tag is definitely steep at $320, so it really has to be the boot that you want. From a value for money perspective, there are definitely better values out there, like the regular Neo 2, which is still expensive as it is. But I think that if you're interested in exactly what I just described, there really isn't anything else quite like these. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in some of these boots for yourself, click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to get these for a little bit cheaper because they are quite expensive. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.